What is a subquery? A subquery, as it says, is a query that is called from a query, or basically another subquery. A query called by a query called by a query. A subquery is a subset query, one that is called from a calling or parent query. As you can see here, we have select, a column, and then a subquery and another subquery from table where something is in a subquery that is in a subquery. You can go down multiple layers, and essentially a subquery is actually an expression. In other words, it returns a single result. In most cases. I say in most cases because there are subqueries that can return more than a single result, more than a single value, but you need a special type of comparison operator to check against it, as in a set inclusion check such as an in clause, as opposed to something like equality and equals sign. An equals sign requires a single value, in can have one or more values. Is something in a set of values? Is something equal to something specific? As I said, a subquery is actually an expression. Here is an expression. This particular expression is a calculator to do a conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius. 32 taken away from the Fahrenheit number multiplied by 5 divided by 9 gives you a temperature equivalent in Celsius. A subquery is an expression in that it returns something to something else and can be embedded in something else. Subquery is called by a query, a calling query or parent query. The interesting thing about subqueries is that they can help you to break down complexity. As you can see, we have a really complicated diagram of all sorts of bits and pieces of information. What they actually are specifically is unimportant. The point to make here is that finding information in a diagram of data that looks like this can be quite a complicated task. Subqueries allow you to break down something like a query into pieces and execute those pieces in a black box type approach where you resolve the pieces one at a time without trying to resolve the entire thing at once. Subqueries can be used as a SQL tuning tool to a certain extent. I used to commonly use a major breakdown of subqueries to help speed up certain types of very complex joins, but in the past, in Oracle 9 and older versions of Oracle, in more recent versions of Oracle, the optimizer has got so sophisticated that it is faster and more efficient to allow Oracle database to actually figure out how to execute a query without the help of breaking it down into pieces. So it becomes a SQL tuning tool using subqueries based on the fact that what you're doing is you're making the query simpler for the person building the query to understand what he's trying to do. Building queries with very large numbers of joins in can get quite complicated to understand because you have to think of everything at the same time. Breaking it down into pieces allows you to break it down in a way that's similar to the way that a programmer would look at a piece of SQL code. A programmer that's used to building modular code or object-oriented code in something like Java. That's one of the primary purposes of object programming languages such as Java. Java allows you to break things down into black-boxed independent pieces that don't have dependencies upon each other. So you can solve problems piece by piece. A much easier method.